Yo, it's Zero, and this is part 2 of What If Deku had Liebe. In the last part, Izuku or Akuma was able to overcome the barrier that was in his way and now has a new power. I haven't yet thought of a name for this form, but for the simplicity of it, let's call it 20% of him using Liebe's power for now. And now he can show off while facing down the 0-point robot. However, before we get back into any of that, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, join the Discord to talk to me and others about future videos on the channel. And now, without any more wait at all, let's get started.
Let's get it. I'm a trapping fanatic, that shit automatic, so I cannot turn it on or off. Bitches all on my dick, then she hop on my dick. I'm like, why you keep hopping on and off? Yo, bitch all on my dick, she be doing the most. I tell her, little bitch, she so extra. And my gun up on me, but not run up on me. Niggas, they wanna fight, they some wrestlers. And you know 30K got the mop. Sacked up, yeah, I got them knots. Act up, get your body in a box. Throw the demon, you know how I rock.
We left off with Akuma soaring off into the skies with a new power granted by the devil within him. So, this is what I get in exchange for trading off my body, huh? And since you were the catalyst, I believe it's only fair to go all out right here and now. From here on out, I'll be referencing Izuku by his nickname in this timeline, unless someone else calls him by his real name, or the situation calls for it. Akuma rushes back down towards the large robot, and it swung its fist towards him. He easily evaded and dragged his blade along its metal arm, slicing it open while leaving a trail of explosions behind him. You're all mine now. Negation slash. The eyes of Akuma glowed bright as a black aura was launched off of his blade, splitting the gigantic robot in half. Akuma smiled, but the power of Liebe would soon vanish, forcing him to fall to the ground at high speeds. Luckily for him, Uraraka was able to touch his face just in time so that he wouldn't hit the ground and die. The alarms would then go off, meaning that the test was now over. Kuma lays on the ground for a moment before standing back up and thanking Uraraka for saving him. It was no problem. I'm glad that you're safe, Izuku, but what was that power you used? I actually don't know. It just sort of happened. I have no idea how I did it, but I'll see you at school if we make it, you know? Yeah, see you then. As Izuku was walking away, she then noticed that all the holes in his body were healed. The two then go their separate ways and days would go by. One day, as Tara was going through the mail for all the kids, she then stumbles across a letter from UA, dropping all the other mail that she held in her hand, as she would then start to cry, calling down everyone and Izuku himself to open it. Izuku is actually surprised that he made it in, thinking he didn't do too well. And when he opens it up, the letter becomes a holographic message from All Might. Young Izuku, you've proved yourself more than worthy enough to have the potential to become a great hero, and this is the first stepping stone towards that goal. Welcome to UA High School. Zenon, Yuno, and even Tara, and plus all the other kids, hug Izuku and start to cry. At this point, he was crying as well, just because he got in. Maybe devils can become heroes, he would think. After they settled down, Zenon then turns to Izuku. Hey big brother, what score did you get? They look back at it and are all shocked to see that Izuku came in first place with his villain score at 95 and his rescue score at 80. Now that he thinks about it, he technically did save 2 people. There will be a waiting period for the new semester to start, but we'll just skip to when it's his first day. He walks to the school as he has no money for public transport, but he was used to it by now, and his body was completely toned just for doing things like this. When he arrived, the press was outside the school to get a look at the new students, but since he was kind of unknown, they didn't even notice him as he was able to get in, which was good for him because he wasn't the best public speaker. He finds his class after some time and then walks in. The first person to notice him was Uraraka. So, we both made it in. Isn't that cool? Yeah, it is. Akuma! A voice would yell as it got closer and closer. Akuma turns around to see Bakugo looking at him. I'll rip you to shreds for coming to my school. Akuma here then thinks to make a change. He no longer wants to be bullied by Bakugo, and this could be a fresh start for him. So, he has to make the change happen himself. Shut your mouth. With an attitude like that, you won't become a hero either. Akuma then turns his head to talk to everyone else while Bakugo would stand in shock. Anger then surges through the body of Bakugo as he grabs Akuma and tries to use his quirk. But Akuma's hand completely turns black as he negated Bakugo's quirk. I think you forgot your place. Akuma picks up Bakugo and slams him into the ground, shaking the whole room and surprising those within it. While they waited on their teacher, a lot of the students would ask Akuma about his quirk since he did just show it off a little bit right now. He then explains his necklace and his pendant. They all call it cool, and then another student will walk up to Akuma. It was Mineta, and he thanked him for saving his life. Don't sweat it. I'm just glad that you're safe. Anyway, where's our teacher? He should be here by now. They all look around the room and eventually find a yellow sleeping bag on the ground. A man would then get out of it stretching. Great. Now that all of you have shut your mouth, I can begin. I'm your homeroom teacher. Call me Mr. Aizawa. You all are in this class because you've exceeded what was normal for our usual freshmen. But don't think just because you're at the top right now doesn't mean you won't be kicked to the bottom by someone else in the future. So, suit up and meet me outside. Aizawa waits for his class, and then once they come, he explains the quirk apprehension test, as they would start with the ball throw, and he tosses it to Akuma, as he was first up since he did score the highest in this timeline. And he was wondering how he was going to do it. You said I can use my quirk, right? But can I go all out? Yeah, but make it quick, hotshot. Sure thing. The book around his neck then begins to glow a bright red as Akuma's arm changes into its demonic-like state as he then holds the ball in his hand. Negation blast. Suddenly a huge blast of red and black energy leaves his hand, carrying the ball into the sky. Aizawa was a little shocked as he shows the distance to the rest of the class as it was around 1,000 kilometers. They go through the rest of the test as usual, and Izuku comes in the top 3 of each one, proving to them why the entrance exam wasn't a fluke and he belongs here, as he did score the highest on both tests. At the end of the day, Akuma is walking out of UA and Uraraka yells out his name. Hey Izuku, you wait for me, you're heading to the train station, right? Train station? What do you mean? I walk to school, Uraraka. How far do you live from here? About 7 miles, I think. Really? So you walked this morning? How come? Akuma then explains the situation to Uraraka and why he wants to become a hero. The two would sympathize with one another as both of their families need money. After this, they each head home in their separate way, and meanwhile, within the school of UA, many of the admin and teachers were reviewing footage from the exams, specifically Izuku's transformation towards the end of the exams. Before he transforms, they can see a black silhouette kind of close to his body, as if it was standing next to him, and it looked as though it was talking to him. And then it jumped back into his body, causing a transformation to then happen again. They can't really make it out what it is, but they understand that it has something to do with the book that was placed around his neck, as there's no other quirk on record from all the histories of quirks that has had this sort of book. Principal Nezu then explains to Aizawa to keep an eye on Izuku, as he may be someone that they need in the future. Based on the description of his quirk, it may be even more powerful than Aizawa's. The next day, most of their classes will go on as normal, just the basic hero studying and training. Well, until they were in a classroom waiting on a teacher to arrive. All Might slides into the room with his hero suit on as he announces for them to suit up for the combat training or battle training on ground level. And here, since Akuma doesn't have Inko, his suit would look a little different. This time around, it would be a black and red jumpsuit with armor plates on certain parts of it. To make it easier for you to imagine, think of Asta's first Devil Union mode, but just a slimmer version of that. They all head down in their suits, and Kirishima is the first to notice Akuma's armor. Whoa, that's pretty badass, man. It's kinda like my quirk, as I can harden myself, but that looks like it's gonna be heavy. Well, my sword is the heaviest piece, and I'm so used to it by now that it's really nothing. Where? Can you show me real quick? I'm sure it's not that heavy. Sure, but don't hurt yourself. Akuma summons his grimoire to appear right in front of him, as he then pulls the blade out of it, and he hands it over to Kirishima, who falls on the ground trying to hold it up. A bunch of the male students would walk over and try to pick it up, but they can't, which causes All Might to walk over as well. He's able to pick it up, but he notices that his power is getting weaker and weaker, so he gives it to Akuma and tells him to be a little more careful with his other students and not to let them touch it. Akuma smiles, nodding, as the teams will now be picked, and I don't think I'm going to change any of them. The villains of the first match would be Bakugo and Ida, while the heroes will be Izuku and Uraraka. We later see the two of them walking around the halls. So, do you have a plan, Izuku? Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's going to be a 2 versus 1. Well, it's going to be a 2 versus 1 fight. Bakugo is definitely going to try to come and fight me on his own. So, just wait for me to beat Bakugo, and then we'll go get Ida together. Are you sure you can beat him? Yeah, just have some faith in me. She would smile, and then Akuma hears the voice of someone familiar within his head. Destroy it all. Let your rage go loose. Be the devil that you truly are. Akuma looks around, but can't find anything until he sees it. Don't worry, only you can see and hear me, so try not to make it obvious. But you better watch out. I can sense that he's coming. The devil vanishes back into the book, and Akuma grabs Uraraka, jumping back as the two would now watch Bakugo burst through the roof and slam down to their level. I finally found you, Akuma! Bakugo rushes at him with explosives, propelling him forward, as Akuma then pushes Uraraka again, this time out of the way to the side, as he will create a ball of darkness in front of him. Negation zone. Darkness then completely surrounds the two of them, and Bakugo falls to the ground, not being able to use his quirk within this area. He turns his head to see the fist of Akuma. Over and over again, Akuma lands heavy-hitting blows to Bakugo. It gets to the point where the devil appears in his dark form with his red eyes staring at Akuma on his side, ordering him to kill Bakugo. But the green-haired boy drops the blonde to the ground, who was slightly unconscious, and Uraraka would watch as the dark zone would disappear. Let's go. Right. They run through the halls, and they realize it's going to take them a long time to reach the top level. So, he cuts through the metal halls and makes a window for Uraraka to float to the top. Wait, so how are you going to get to the top level before me? That's easy. I'll just go all out from this point on. Okay, I'll see you there then. She jumps out and then starts to float up. Akuma then looks at his devil, who was sitting in the room. Let's see it, Akuma. Whatever, just stay out of my way. The devil would hop back into the book as Akuma transforms into his 20% like state and flies through the platforms to where the bomb was. Ida was surprised as he uses his legs to get close and kick Akuma into a wall. But as he kicks Akuma, he drags him to the bottom all the way down to where Bakugo was. By now, all the blonde did was recover, and he was trying to figure out how to get back up, but he was placed into another negation zone. This was different from the last time though, because Akuma wasn't in this zone. It was just Bakugo and Ida. Let's do this. Negation Zone, second form, piercing spikes. Spikes and blades would try to stab at Bakugo and Ida, who dodged, while Akuma sat on top of the zone, looking all the way back up to see Uraraka waving at him as she would secure the bomb, meaning that they won and the test was now over. Within the zone, you could hear no sound from the outside, so when they were released, they tried to attack Akuma, but he dodged, explaining how the test was already over. All Might then announced for them to come back to the room so that they could review the fight. When the four make it back, Uraraka and Izuku are congratulated by the pro hero for their excellent work. So, can any of the rest of you tell me why Uraraka and Izuku were so successful? Momo then raised their hand and would explain. It's due to the fact that Izuku was able to isolate the main variable, Bakugo, and force him into an uncomfortable situation where he would have to readjust. I don't exactly know what happened in the Dark Zone as it wasn't on camera, but I imagine that all the quirks within that zone are deactive and they can't use them, meaning that Izuku's physical strength won him that battle. Going on to the rest of the fights, the two made a plan in the halls and followed through with it perfectly. For a moment, everyone was quiet, realizing how smart she was, but then All Might told her that she was correct. The rest of the training goes on, and after they all go back to the classroom, Akuma would sit down and people would surround his desk. Kirishima spoke first. What manly display of power. But if you did that to me, it might be different because I'm already physically strong. Ashido looks at Kirishima and shakes her head, causing him to wonder why. I don't know, it looks like Izuku has the edge on you there because you can't pick up his sword. Aw, come on, that thing weighs a ton. Even All Might didn't want to pick it up. Give me a break. Anyways, what's up with your quirk? I thought you only had one, but it seems like you have a bunch of stuff you can do with it. Uraraka here walks over to his desk as well, as she was curious, as many other students would follow suit. Akuma then shows them a bigger form of his grimoire. So, this is basically how my quirk works. To keep it simple, I have a negation quirk that can cancel out other quirks. But because of this book, I have techniques that go along with my quirk. The stronger I get, the more techniques are written down within this book. Momo then points something out that all of them realized. What language is this? I've never seen it before. Well, I don't know either, but I can understand it. It's probably because this book is specifically catered to me. Far away from the UA high school, we then see people walking towards a location as they would sit down after walking into a room that we later see is a bar. Sitting down, one of them would scratch his chin. How about we kill the symbol of peace? And this is where I'm going to end part 2 of this series. What do you guys think is going to happen in the next part? As will the villains be able to succeed in their plans and kill All Might? And how will Akuma's quirk affect the upcoming battles? If you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel to show me that you guys want more content like this. And make sure to join the Discord as well. This is Zero, and I'll catch you all on the next one.